growth has been a key theme of this Labour government. It's what they campaigned on, it's what they made pledges on, it's what they say they need to achieve in order to put in place more of the policies they promised during the election campaign. But in a month where we saw zero growth in the UK economy, Keir Starmer now appears to be turning to others, seeking their advice on how to grow the economy, which on the face of it would suggest they're running out of their own ideas or they're extremely dissatisfied with the way things are going as a direct result of their implementation of their policies. Now, a lot of this is indeed self-inflicted by the Labour governments. I mean, how on earth can you expect economic growth when you're taxing businesses to the hilt with national insurance and asking them to pay more, have it more expensive for them to hire their workforce, more expensive for them to keep the lights on? That doesn't exactly make for a very favourable business environment. However, believe it or not, there is still a way that they can achieve economic growth instantly. In fact, there are three. We're going to break down all three of these ways, but before we do, if you are new around here, it takes just 2 seconds. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider hitting the like and subscribe button down below, and without further ado, let's get into it. One issue that has not been spoken about enough is the issue of debt, more specifically, credit card debt and interest rates. If you take a look at some of the stats here, within the total debt, outstanding credit card debt came to £71.5 billion, an increase of 6.38% in the year to August 2024. Credit card debt averaged £2,518 per household and £1,324 per adult. And it goes on to say below, a credit card on the average interest rate would take 27 years to repay, making only the legal minimum repayments each month. Now, why is this such a big deal? Because you may be thinking to yourself, hang on a second, if people are spending money from their credit cards into the UK economy, surely that should be a good thing. Well, the answer is yes and no. Yes, in the sense that it is indeed consumers parting with cash and pumping that into the UK economy to pay for goods and services, which is great. However, here's the problem. When consumers spend the credit card money, they are in debt. And as a result of that, credit card companies and banks then put interest on that debt. So let's say, for example, someone spent £5,000 from their credit card. So they're £5,000 in debt. There's a 20% interest rate applied to that debt. 20% of 5,000 is 1,000. Add that to the existing debt, the person then owes £6,000 come next year. That is a very big problem because that right there is debt entrapment, because then you're paying more for what you borrowed. That's all a credit card is. You're borrowing money to spend it, but then you're being forced to pay back more than what you borrowed. That in itself can be very dangerous because if consumers are trapped in that structure, then they can take forever to pay it off. And as a result of that, they are then constrained with how much money they can spend in the future. Because if more of their disposable income is going towards paying off their debts, then it means the UK economy is receiving less money. That is where the problem is. It's a delicate balance, but with credit card debt increasing in the UK, it's a very big problem. So this is where Keir Starmer can make an immediate impact, because if he can tackle the issue of credit card debt, it means consumers are no longer paying more money towards their debts, and they have more money to spend in the UK economy. How can he solve this problem? Well, the short and simple answer is by putting a limit on the interest rates. And the reason I say this is because the interest rates for credit cards currently are out of control. If you look here towards the later stages of 2024, they have been rising steadily up towards 25%. That is insane. 25% interest rates are just far too much. Can you imagine if people have to tap into credit card debt for emergency funds, given that times are tough, or they need emergency cash to pay their bills, keep the lights on, etc. If they have to tap into credit card debt and then are slapped with 25% interest on top of that debt, if these are working class people, how on earth can they be expected to pay off that debt? Which is why a cap or a limit on credit card interest rates will be a winner all around. Firstly, for the ordinary person. If they need to take out debts, then the cost of taking out credit card debt is significantly reduced if the interest rates are lower. For example, if they borrowed £5,000 at 20%, then they had to pay £6,000 back. But if a limit existed of 10% interest, if they borrowed that £5,000 again, they would then have to pay back £5,500, meaning the cost of that debt has significantly reduced, and the ordinary working person can pay that debt off quicker. If they can pay the debt off quicker, then they have more money quicker to spend into the UK economy, boosting, in turn, economic growth. So, big win for the ordinary working person. Secondly, for the banks. Now, granted, I'm no fan of the banks and the way they are operating with credit card debt currently, with the interest rate going up to 25%, which is scandalous. But even if a limit existed of 10% interest on credit cards, they are still making a profit. It's not as if we're abolishing the interest rates altogether. A 10% interest rate, they can still make profit on the number of credit cards that exist in the UK, so they still win regardless. And thirdly, for Keir Starmer and the Labour Party. Now, their whole campaign and their whole government is centred and focused around economic growth. With this, you can kill two birds with one stone, because it shows you standing up to the banking sector by saying, no, you're not going to charge such extortionate interest rates and really screw over the working class bloke. We're going to put a cap in place where you can only charge interest up to a certain point, and we're going to help people get out of credit card debts quicker. That way, once they are out of debt, in a quicker time frame than they would have been if they were paying 25% interest, as opposed to the 10% cap, then more money is available for those people to spend in the UK economy, boosting economic growth and reducing debts. So you kill two birds with one stone. You boost growth and you reduce debts, and people look upon you more favourably in that way. So that's one way. What's another way that Keir Starmer can boost economic growth? Well, it would involve him walking back on his mistakes and admitting he was wrong, but he can look to scrap the increase in employers' national insurance contributions that he's proposed. We've already been warned that retail job cuts are inevitable after the announcement of the budget. High street job losses are inevitable, prices will rise, and shops will close because of tax rises in the budget and other rising costs, a group of the biggest retailers in the UK is warning. It's pretty simple. If you want businesses to invest, if you want them to hire more people, you need to make it less expensive and more affordable for them to do so. Slapping the extra tax with employers' national insurance contributions for each workers is what's leading to these job cuts. And we will get to more factors also that are leading to these job cuts, because believe me, that's number 3. But focusing on this one, scrapping the employer national insurance increase would be a big signal of intent that the UK is open and ready for more business. And thirdly, and this is the last point, if you truly want to boost economic growth, you need to bring down the cost of energy. Put simply, similar to what we discussed before at the start with credit cards, if it costs less to buy something, then you have more money at your disposal to buy other things and invest in other areas of the UK economy. So from a customer standpoint, if it costs less for your energy bills to keep the lights on, to keep the water running, etc., then you have more money at your disposal to go out and buy other things, buy other goods and services. And from a business standpoint, it makes equal sense. Because if it costs less for a business to keep the lights running, to keep the electricity running, keep the water on, keep the gas on, pay the rent, albeit rent's not really an energy cost, but you know what I'm saying. If all those type of costs have significantly reduced, then with the money they've saved, they can reinvest back into their business and back into their workforce. This one is extremely important because as of today, Britain is paying the highest electricity prices anywhere in the world. In fact, the cost of power for industrial businesses is now 4 times more expensive than in the US. So let's try and get some perspective on this. If we look at the cost of electricity in the UK currently, you're looking at around about £65.97. Whereas if you compare that to the likes of France, specifically in this case, ignoring Germany, France's cost is £43.49, £22 cheaper. Now, the reason I point this out is because if we look at the makeup of how electricity is currently mined and produced within the UK and France, you can see that the UK is primarily dependent upon clean energy, wind energy specifically. But if you look at France, which is £20 cheaper by the way, their main dominant energy force is nuclear. So, what we need to do is look into the nuclear option, which produces 0 carbon emissions, it's 24/7, it's intermittent, and now we have the beauty of small modular reactors, where we can do this on a large enough scale to produce as much electricity at an affordable rate, carbon-free, and good for the British taxpayer, as well as being energy independent and energy secure. So, those are 3 immediate ways that Keir Starmer and the Labour Party can grow the economy. Let's see where we are in 2025. If they decide to go down the proposal that the regulators put to them, then we don't yet know what that will look like. Maybe it will include some of the things we've discussed today, maybe not. But I will analyse that in time, because at the moment, things don't exactly seem to be suggesting that the UK economy is going to start growing anytime soon. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think there are other ways that Keir Starmer can grow the economy? Or are we completely and truly screwed? Thank you all for watching. Please do consider hitting the like and subscribe button down below, and I'll see you all later. Take care.